The views and opinions expressed in this podcast by the host or the guest do not necessarily reflect the views of Paranormal Buzz Radio or its sponsors. Use of any material produced by Paranormal Buzz Radio without express written consent is strictly prohibited. For information on everything Paranormal Buzz Radio has to offer, visit our website, paranormalbuzzradio.com. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Listener discretion is advised.
Listen in as your host, Casey Colburn, brings together a perfectly picked panel of guests to discuss hot topics and events within the metaphysical and paranormal field. But don't worry, should the discussions get too heated, our studio's witch will sound her cackle to simmer the cauldron back down. Listen for new episodes of Cauldron Talk with Casey Colburn every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. only on Paranormal Buzz Radio. Welcome to Cauldron Talk. This is Season 2, Episode 5. I'm your host, Casey Colburn, and today we welcome to our circle Lilith Moore, Megan Deputy, and Jessica Ansley. Today we are talking about Satanism. Welcome to Cauldron Talk, ladies. How are we all doing today?
Lovely.
Great.
I'm doing well.
Good to hear. So before we begin, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Hi, this is Lilith. I've been a Satanist since 2008, and I started in what you could say a coven kind of thing. And then since I moved from Puerto Rico, I've been independent Satanist. So everything that I say here today is going to be on my behalf. It does not represent the Temple Satan of Satan or the Church of Satan either. So it's only on my behalf, and I just want to share what real Satanism is, because there's so much misunderstanding and miscommunication and misinformation around all the social media and around cross-board, like, United States and many other countries too. So I just wanted to clarify all the questions and all the misinformation that's been going around, and I am more than grateful and more than thankful to be here and being invited here to be able to clarify all those things.
And hello,
Awesome.
My name is Megan Deputy. So lovely to be with you guys. I always enjoy speaking with Kay on Cauldron Talk. And I am an eclectic witch of traditional witchcraft and have been a practitioner for the majority of my life. And I'm also part of the Ghost Finders. And so I use witchcraft in speaking with spirits. And being an eclectic witch, I appreciate a lot of different beliefs and, like, how would you say, just the arts from across the world. And so I love us bringing understanding and discussing and honoring all different viewpoints of spiritualism as well as philosophy. So, yeah, that's why I'm here today.
My name is Jessica, and I am a professional musician. I'm also have been since childhood, but recently decided to, within the last year, embrace it finally and get a greater understanding of what it means to be part of that community. I guess when it comes to religion, I'm more of an omnist, kind of similar to Megan, in that I pull things from different religions and philosophies of life and existentialism and things of that nature. I make my edge of belief system, mainly spiritualist, honestly, but I'm not afraid to research and learn about all different types of religion and things of that nature. So that's why I'm here.
Well, very cool. I'm very, very excited and happy to have all of you ladies on today. Talking about Satanism is a topic that I've wanted to do since I started the show, really, just because there are so many different misconceptions and stuff and stigmas and all this. And as we all know, that's something that I like to try to dispel here at Cauldron Talk for many things. I'm was fortunate to have Megan on when we were talking about the differences between paganism, Wiccan, and witchcraft. And I've had others on talking about voodoo and trying to get rid of all those different issues and things that are kind of associated with it that shouldn't be. So I'm very, very thankful that you guys are all on today, that we can try to do this for this topic as well. So my first questions for you ladies. What is Satanism?
Okay, so there are two different types of Satanism. There is a theist Satanism and there is an atheist Satanism, aka Anton Sander LaVey philosophy. Atheist Satanists do not believe in Satan as a deity, but regard Satan only as a symbolic archetype, whereas theist Satanists do believe in and revere Satan as a deity. We do not believe, or at least the side of the philosophy that I follow, I do not believe that Satan literally exists, and I do not worship him. Instead, Satan is viewed as a positive archetype, representing pride, carnality, and enlightenment. He is also embraced as a symbol of defiance against Abrahamic religions, which LaVeyans criticize for suppressing humanity's natural instincts and encouraging irrationality. The religion propagates a naturalistic worldview, seeing mankind as animals existing in an immoral universe, and it promotes a philosophy based in egoism, coupled with social Darwinism and anti-egalitarianism.
I think that was very beautifully put, Lilith, and a great foundation of the different viewpoints of Satanism. It's, to me, I love both aspects of it, as it being a philosophy and kind of exactly that it's okay to have some pride, and it's okay to kind of follow those impulses that help you do you and make you kind of happy, and not necessarily following all of the different rules that come from different religions, like following the 10 Commandments and stuff. The philosophy too, hey, if somebody's saying, oh, do I look kind of fat in this dress? And you say, no, you might be telling a little white lie, but you feel like that is the greater good for everything in that situation. Whereas maybe thou shalt not lie, that's kind of like that place, and a little bit of that vibe where it comes from with Satanism. Just do right by you and follow your heart, and it's okay to take care of yourself and embrace that rebel without a cause that is kind of the poster child that is Satan or Lucifer.
So one thing I wanted to bring up that a lot of people in the general society don't know is that the word Satan actually was not in the Bible as a pronoun. A lot of people think that the word Satan automatically means Lucifer or the devil, and it actually comes from the Hebrew term of Satan or Satan, which means adversary or questioner of authority. And as the other two ladies gracefully put, the whole idea of the Satanic Temple is about questioning the general society's rules in a way, and who honestly decides what is immoral or moral. It's so subjective, and it's hard to say, this is immoral or this is the definition of morality. Everyone's so different and believes different. How can we say exactly that that's what the definition is? But on in terms of Satan, questioning the authority, questioning government, things like that, is kind of, from me, what I've read and researched is the whole point in a way of the Satanic Temple. And it's interesting to me that the Church of Satan, which is the one that believes in the deity of Satan, or reveres them as such, does not talk about how the pronoun Satan doesn't exist in the Bible. So I thought that was kind of an interesting thing, and that a lot of people don't know that the word Satan isn't actually Lucifer. It's more of a noun than a pronoun, or a verb even. So I just wanted to pull that one out.
Yeah, it is very interesting how things just kind of come to be and just kind of really just kind of slap together for a better story that, you know, helps their agenda, if that makes sense. And we see that over and over and over again throughout history. So speaking about Satan, I have a couple of things that I was told, but again, because there's so many misconceptions and misinformation out there, I'm not sure if it's something that I should even really believe or, you know, take as fact. So who is Satan?
Well, I can talk from my perspective and from my experience and what Satan is to me. To me, he represents indulgence instead of abstinence. It is vital existence instead of a spiritual pipe streams. It represents undefiled wisdom instead of hypocritical self-deceit. It is kindness to those who deserve it instead of love wasted on ingrates. And it's also vengeance instead of turning the other cheek. And that is part of one of the things that I really, really like about being a Satanist is that we do not turn the other cheek. If you disrespect me, like, I'm not going to treat you with respect, because why? So, to me, Satan represents responsibility to the responsible instead of concern for psychic vampires. It represents man as just another animal who, because of this divine spiritual and intellectual development, has become the most vicious animal of all. It is so many things. To me, it just represents you and me, because we are human beings. To me, I visualize humanity as a part of the animal kingdom. We do have our own instincts, and we do have our own reflections and reactions from the different things in life and lifestyle. So those who tell me that, oh, I'm going to forgive this because this is, this is what it's written in the Bible, or this is what my religion tells me. No, you're not going to forgive that person, because inside of you, you know that person did you wrong, and you're not going to cease to have that feeling of wanting vengeance just because you decide that you're going to forgive. So it is, it represents all of the so-called sins, as they all lead to physical, mental, or emotional gratification. And then again, like we were talking about church and Satan, Satan has been the best friend of the church and has ever had, and he has kept the business of the church all these years. So, even though it doesn't show in the Bible, but that's why the preach and pastors and all these people that are in front of their church get their pay,
Yeah, I fully agree with that. And I also want to bring back to the many different, like, kind of forms of the concept of Satan. Kay and I talked in the past too, even just taking as far, I don't think a lot of people understand that Satan and the devil are actually different entities as well. especially for witches. There are satanic witches, and then there are witches who worship the devil, and he is the old one. He is the man in black. He is the one who has given us these secrets and taught us these things and knows the magic that is inside of ourselves and helps kindle that. He is that one that is the giver of that knowledge. He does not think that it needs to be kept from you. It shouldn't be forbidden. And so just like what Lilith is saying, it's thinking for yourself, the wisdom that you decide. If you say, oh, I want to stand up for myself in this circumstance, oh, I feel like it's better to either say or not say in this circumstance to this person. It's not following commandments or rules. It's bestowing your own animal / spiritual instincts. You have those magics, those like impulses, and it's okay to live, to breathe, to make that choice. Because going back to Satan, and like Jessica said, the adversarial, like it pushes you to think and choose and keep breaking those boundaries and walls. Like if you just constantly always said, oh, okay, that's okay, but never was like, okay, well, but why can't I leave this area? What's the reason behind that? Are you trying to contain me into this backyard for a reason to keep me out of this? Like, it's good to have a little bit of that drive and to question authority. And I feel like that's what Satan represents. And that's why the Church of Satan, for other reasons too, because you can always find bits of different like viewpoints, just like Christianity has, you know, Presbyterians and Baptists and stuff. You'll run into differences. So for those listening, if there is a different viewpoint and Satan feels a different way to you or represents something, that is completely valid and part of the whole get up of what Satanism is about and what Satan represents. Like, he's got a bad rep, but he's just like she said, helps drive so much.
Yep.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to add too, on the other end of the spectrum, for as far as the ones that believe in the deity of Satan, as we know from Christianity, Lucifer was the first adversary of God, going back to that word Satan, adversary, questioner of authority. And then you look at the etymology of Lucifer's name itself, it's the light bringer. And tying that all in together, because, you know, words are important. You could say words all day long, but when you actually look at the meaning of words and understand the meaning, the true original meaning of words, it's kind of a whole different ballgame. Because as Megan had said earlier about kind of bringing out your own light and following your own light and creating your own light and your own magic, Lucifer is that light bringer in a way. And that's kind of interesting how all those things tie together as far as, you know, love and light, things like that. And then that all sounds great and all, but then you look at Lucifer, the light bringer, and according to some Christians, that could be, looking at that could be a negative thing, because they automatically hear Lucifer and they don't understand that he actually was, according to the Bible, God's favorite angel, you know, and it hurt God even more because of the story of Lucifer falling and, you know, going against what God said, and he had to cast him out. So looking at the whole scenario between self-indulgence and self-exploration and things of that nature, it's kind of interesting finding your own light, and the whole idea that Lucifer's name meant light bringer. So I just kind of wanted to point that out as well.
Yeah, it's definitely very interesting how things kind of come together. One of the things that I look at Satan as, or even just the devil, and you see it in like your tarot cards and stuff. The devil and Satan, what they represent is desire to me. And so I've not ever really looked at it as this negative thing. I've been told to look at it as this negative thing. But I've never believed that. I mean, even like if you look at the story of Lilith, she was supposed to be this very evil, demonic person, but her only thing that she is like guilty of is wanting to have free will. She didn't want to be subservient to Adam. And so she was forced out of the Garden of Eden. Well, that's not really a crime, you know, like I wouldn't want to have to be subservient to my husband, and, you know, luckily he wouldn't try to enforce it either. So, I mean, would I be cast out because of that? Because I'm definitely, I'm not a pushover. So I just, a lot of the stuff, their stories comes from what they wanted the people to do. You know, so they said, look, this happened to this person, and they're supposed to be this embodiment of purity and stuff because they were created special. And if it could happen to them, then it's definitely going to happen to you if you don't listen. And so I think a lot of where these misconceptions came from is because of that. They wanted to keep everybody under their thumb and make it so that they wouldn't question.
Yeah, it's just part of the manipulation game that they have, you know. It's like a chessboard. They see it as a chessboard, and yeah, that's part of the game.
It's propaganda, like turning other deities, or what would you say, mascots, and demonizing them. And it's also fear mongering into getting the masses, exactly like you're saying, Kay, to like kind of fall in line and fall in suit. And so to bring back, because I feel like a lot of people, when they hear Satan or the devil or desire and impulse, they're like, whoa, that's a lot. And it's like, no, all with balance, my friends. Like, it's all, and you have the say and the wisdom. You make that choice. And that's what he kind of did too, is like present that option. He didn't force anything upon Eve. He just told her about it, if we want to go with that representation. And exactly, like, good for you, Lilith. I wouldn't want to stay in that garden of oppression either. And maybe he left and rebelled because there is a big picture and there is something that is not being talked about. So it all comes down to perspective, because there are a bunch of viewpoints too that look at the stories from those texts and say, this is actually all propaganda, and he's the one that is trying to look out for us and has the bad rep. Which again, it's who's to say, but the philosophy of just that thinking in itself, I say again, is healthy. And we have to remember that character, that type, just that tulpa it's had that life breathed into it, is very important and something to give respect to. If we want to go back to Christianity, just the story of Job. Are you guys familiar with that?
I'm not barely.
Okay, so that was, there's a story in the Bible too, where it's basically God and the devil having a civil conversation, and there's this devoted person to God. The devil and God were playing back and forth, trying to just get his devotion away from God. And you see me interchange the devil and Satan too, because like that is what happens a lot of today. So people view it that as the same character. But again, I say my devil that I hold respect to is not the Christian concept of it. He is the father of witches, like the horned one. So it's complicated, guys, at the very
very deep.
Yeah.
For me, I personally see Satanism, especially the version of the Satanic Temple, as kind of like humanism in a way. just judging by their philosophical position, because they promote individuality, joy, liberty, and self-expression. Now, you take out the word Satan, it's almost like something out of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. You know, you're telling people to be the best person that they can be, and they don't have to reach some perfection in terms of like Christianity that they can never achieve, because automatically you're setting yourself up for failure. And I've gone to church, and I was part of the praise band and all of that, and I left because I felt like no matter what I did, I was never good enough. And that's exactly what,
Same here.
For me, Satanism seems to be like. You know, you don't have to have this idea of perfection that you're never going to have. Sometimes you're perfectly fine just the way you are. And that's pretty much it, in a way. In a nutshell, it's almost like something out of, like I said, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, if you've ever seen that show. And it's like humanism, in a way. You know, be proud of who you are. You know, it's interesting that everyone automatically goes to that negative space and mindset when they hear that word, and they don't even know what the word means. So,
right. Can we talk about the Satanic Temple for a second? That's the best analogy that I've heard in a long time, Jessica. And that's why they deserve even more props. You know why they chose that? Because they're fearless. They know the misconception of the world, and they know that they're getting out there, being a part of the community, like teaching kids, and it's all about equality. That's why Baphomet is a symbol for them. It is that balance between male and female, above and below, and just like knowing yourself. And the fact that they wanted that as like their symbol just shows their fearlessness, as well as their effort to change everyone's minds, because they knew they were going to be met with, how would you say, just judgment and all of that. But again, guys, can we take a second to say props? Like, these guys are rock stars, and just take a second to Google, put some research in. There's some wonderful documentaries out there now today too. I feel as time goes on, we're definitely seeing a rise in the Satanic Temple, as well as the understanding of what Satanism really is.
Yeah, I was reading, and they said that after the last election in 2016, when Donald Trump was elected, not to get political by any means, but they literally said that there was a huge resultant and sudden boom in membership within the Satanic Temple within hours of the election results. And presumably it would be a response to a rising concern that evangelical theocrats, you know, had managed to overtake the executive branch. So it's very crazy that, you know, like you said, there's a huge uptake in membership. The best thing about membership of this church versus like the Church of Satan, for example, you don't have to pay a fee. If you want a membership card, it's $25, but you don't have to do that for the Satanic Temple. However, with the Church of Satan, it's $250 to become a member of that church.
Right.
I don't know about you guys.
They practice ritual and magics and stuff. And the Satanic Temple is a little bit more like broad spectrum. It's like, again, you do you. And yeah, it's more open for sure.
I like also that while yes, you do you is a huge thing, they also strive for compassion and empathy towards like all creatures within reason, you know.
And equality.
And there's this whole struggle for justice that's constantly ongoing and necessary pursuit that should prevail over laws and institutions, you know. And I find that they pull that into the viewpoint of society. And like Megan said, they are rock stars. They knew what they were getting into. They chose that. I had been talking about this on Facebook a couple days ago, and that's what brought Kay to me to kind of come on the show, I believe, is because I had brought it up. And a lot of people are like, well, why choose Satan if they're not worshiping Satan? Well, because they know the true definition of Satan. Just because society views Satan as something else, that's not their fault. It's all about education and understanding. And you can continue to be ignorant by its definition not stupid, but ignorant, and not have the awareness of something, because ignorance is you can cure ignorance.
Yeah.
Right.
You can't cure
Nowadays,
stupidity.
right.
So
Nowadays,
you can become
ignorance is
knowledge.
just, yeah.
Yeah. So
Ignorance nowadays is just something that you can choose to be ignorant. And, nowadays with all these resources that we have in the internet and all the other things that we have, by the tip of our fingers, it is just a choice. It's just a matter of choice right now.
exactly.
You can just choose to be a bubblehead and just believe whatever the church or whoever tells you to do and do that, and a robot, but you're not going to be having a critical personal opinion or belief because you're just choosing to believe someone else's beliefs and philosophy or bullcrap.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I also love that the Satanic Temple brings forward science.
Yes.
And they have, they believe that we should conform to the best scientific understanding of the world, and we should never try to distort scientific facts to fit our belief system.
Right. It's wisdom.
Yes, exactly. Knowledge is power, right? So you're able to, by gaining knowledge and believing in science, you're able to gain power of your own understanding. And that's phenomenal. And it'd be great if more people understood that. So I'm very glad we're having this conversation.
Exactly. Because holding back knowledge, and this is just evident in history, was used for control. And again, that's kind of what Satan symbolizes, and why just giving that access, again, well said, Lilith, like, it's very frustrating, especially in this day and age, that choice, because in the past, if you were living in a secluded village and the only person who could read or tell you what was happening in the spiritual side of things was like what you would hear every Sunday or whatnot, that's like one thing. And there was still people with that relationship with everything around them and the spirits and just inside their heart that still broke away from that and thought for themselves and made that choice. But with the wealth of knowledge that's available and everyone's ability right now, it's a little harder, but to travel the world and to learn from different viewpoints and people, like, that's so important. And that's, again, we're going to just keep shouting out how much we love the Satanic Temple, what they're about too. It's not like, oh, hey, we're the coolest cats here. It's, let's all learn from each other, equality. Let's keep pushing ourselves to break boundaries, not trying to hold anyone back. And that's really awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. The bottom line is the Satanic Temple to me is about breaking the mold. It really is. Where you, like you said, Megan, break boundaries. I mean, yeah, well, we're human beings. We make mistakes. And we should do our best to rectify them. But at the end of the day, everything prevails over written or spoken word. And their tenets are guiding principles, too, which is awesome. They're not trying to guilt you into anything and using emotions to control other people, and that's another thing that I loved, when I was doing my research about this. I love that. They're not trying to control other people. They're just control yourself. I found it interesting that it's a guiding principle. It's designed to inspire you to take action and be thoughtful and like we keep saying and bringing up over and over again, to find really educate yourself and they don't guilt you into anything.
Right. And that's why I think that it's more complicated for a lot of people, because there's so many different various types as well, because there are satanic witches. Like, there are just Satanists who are atheists. They're like, you can have those philosophies and live by those teachings from the Satanic Temple and like also practice whatever. You could be eclectic and worship,
Right.
heathen gods, and as well as practice Satanism. I love Michelle Bellinger and a lot of her books. And I've met her in person, and she's wrote some pretty beautiful rituals, and also like had panels with various Satanists. And it's like so cool that we can all kick back and talk and just share with each other. And it's not just a constant argument of who's right and who's wrong. And that's what's really refreshing about it too.
Yes, I can agree with that. So my next question for you ladies, what are some of the basic life values that are taught by the Satanic Church or Satanic Temple, and how is Satanism perceived by society?
So basically, in regards to the values and the Satanic Church, we have 11 Satanic rules, which it is not like the 10 Commandments of the Bible. It is not like, oh, if you do not follow them, we're going to condemn you for life and follow you and burn your house and your family. It's not like that. It is like we were talking about before. Satanism is more laid back, and it's more, humane and to your instincts and to follow your animal instincts. So basically the 11 Satanic rules, it is: do not give opinions or advice unless you're asked. Do not tell your troubles to others unless you're sure that they want to hear them. When in another's home, like if you go visit to another person's home, show them respect, or else do not go at all. If a guest in your home annoys you, treat him cruelly and without mercy. Then there is another one that says, do not make sexual advances unless you're given the mating signal. Do not take that which does not belong to you unless it is a burden to the other person and they cry out to be relieved. Acknowledge the power of magic if you have employed it successfully to obtain your desires. If you deny power of magic after having called upon it with success, you will lose all you have obtained. And then there is another one that says, do not complain about anything to which you need to subject yourself. Do not harm children. So no, there is no sacrifices to children. There's no thing about that. Like there's nothing about children and sacrificing children to give them or sacrifice them to the Lord, Satan, or anything like that, like people think. And do not kill non-human animals unless you're attacked or for food. And when walking in open territory, bother no one. If someone bothers you, ask him to stop. If he does not stop, then destroy him. So to me, these basics are very basics. Like to me, that's just very elemental. Like it's just follow your common sense to me. To me, it's follow your common sense. It's not something that it will, I don't know, like it's gonna make you dumb, like, or think so much that you're gonna, explode, or, yeah, I don't know. Like to me, it's just common sense, It is not some rules like that are, out of human nature. You know what I mean? Like it's not something that is impossible to follow. And to me, nowadays, it's something that I just follow them without even notice them. I even follow them even before I started to start my left-hand path in Satanism. So to me, it's just so normal that I don't even feel that I'm following anything.
Right. Yeah, I would say too, again, the misconception about Satanism across the board, and we'll get into the history a bit later, but that stems from the 70s and the satanic panic that has come. And a lot of what people visualize Satanism and the sacrificing of animals and children's and things of that nature is a different kind of occultism. It's not even true Satanism. And that is just all over time. And sure, there might have been some of those committing harm and doing those things, calling themselves a Satanist. But if you do your research and look up the actual text, just like Lilith said, it's a completely different thing. And that misconception is carried throughout time. And just like Kay was asking, yes, there are these just demonizing viewpoints that come from people because of what they were told by their families, or those misconceptions throughout Hollywood. Yeah, I've been called a Satanist myself, even in the workplace. My day job is a makeup artist, and I've worked with various different lines across the world. And then I also do makeup for film. But one time at Counter, and I didn't even share any of my viewpoints openly. And this was before I was on the Ghost Finders. So I wasn't out of the broom closet, as we lovingly like to say, because it's professional. You're at work. Like, those who know me, and I am a witch, but you don't have to go sharing. Just like that was one of the rules. Like, don't go sharing your opinions and shoving it down people's throat. Don't be the Borg.
Uh-huh.
But she had this, like, I feel like she's a Satanist because she's alternative and da 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 da. And it really hurt me at first, like, and I was like, oh man, what am I going to do with this? Because this individual was actually a manager of mine. And my fellow coworkers too were like, you could totally report her, blah, blah, blah. She's treating you wrong. And I was like, well, I don't have enough evidence right now. And I like to plan things out. And I like to take time to think of where a person's coming from. So I'm not very impulsive when it comes to emotional reactions. But I came to the conclusion, my friends, I was like, all right, she thinks I'm a Satanist, has this messed up viewpoint of me. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to be the nicest damn Satanist she's ever met. And it took about a half a year, my friends. And it was a lot of, now I didn't let her walk all over me either. Let's make that very clear. But taking the high road and that professional, like, just walking with my head up high, this is a victory story for all of us out there. Like, after about a half a year, she came up to me and said, Megan, I really want to confess something to you. I kind of misjudged you, and I actually talked a bunch behind your back and said all of these things, but you were the actual person who saved me this, and this time in this workplace, and you knew I was being cruel to you. Why did you do that? And I was like, that's just how I like to live my life and the energies and magics I want to put forth. I knew you were coming from a place, but there you go. And this individual was a very big Christian, baby Jesus this every 10 seconds. But you know what she said too? And it gave her that, she was like, you actually acted more of a Christian than I was at that time. You treated me without judgment and all of that. And that made her really take a second to look in the mirror. And that was like victory. And it was not easy, but that's what the Satanic Temple is doing, guys. Like, they are taking the high road. We're getting called names, but we're going out and doing kind things. And over time, your actions, as well as your words, those seeds will be planted, and that will grow into something beautiful. And I encourage people to do that. Because, like, again, the best, like, I don't want to be like the best FU, but is the professional one. It's not swearing and being all in anger. It's holding her heads up high, being like, see, told you. So, yeah.
I find it very interesting. I mean, good for you, Megan. That's amazing. That's exactly the way you should be, in my opinion. And I find it my big viewpoint on life, and I said this earlier, is people are only responsible for their emotions and their reactions. And that being said, you could try to offend me all you want, but at the end of the night, I'm responsible for how I react and how I feel. And you did that. Like, you could have been offended. You could have reported her. You could have done all of that. And you didn't. And you were responsible for your feelings. You were responsible for your reactions. And so looking at the world around us today, there's so much, it's so dismal and sad, and everyone's fighting. And I just feel like at the end of the day, if we were all responsible for ourselves and focused more on being responsible for ourselves and what everybody else was doing in the world,
Mm-hmm.
and being offended about that, then the world would be a much more beautiful place. And I feel like that's exactly what the Satanic Temple is trying to say. You know?
Yeah, I think I think just to kind of add, like, it's hard to really, because you guys have already said so much about it and so many wonderful points. So just to, I guess, try to add, I think when it comes to things, like, you definitely have to know when to use your backbone, but know also when the actual fight is. If you go out and you're fighting everything, that's all you're going to be, is fighting, and that's going to get tiresome very, very quickly. And I like the values that you mentioned, Lilith, because honestly, I pretty much live it anyways without even knowing that that's what it was. And like what Megan was talking about, with having those, people kind of put you in a bubble, and if you're not this, then you're obviously this. And it's not I kind of get where Megan was saying that it kind of hurt a little bit to be called satanic, and it's not that because of being satanic, it's not what it actually is, but what it means to other people, which, like, it immediately puts that negative look at you, because if they say it out loud, then other people are going to immediately start looking at you in that negative light. And hopefully what we're doing today with discussing it and getting out the right information will start to kind of spread the positivity that is Satanism, that is true Satanism. Because I think that is a very important thing.
Exactly. And it's not about the title. It's just about being misjudged. And again, why we are so hurt and frustrated is because it's not an accurate assumption. Like, the history is wrong. The satanic panic, like, put your research into it, people. This is all propaganda, and it's sad. And that's what's heartbreaking. Some of the, like, coolest people I know are Satanists, and the most kind. And that's, again, it's like your actions speak louder than words sometimes. And I really hope and believe, like, years and years from now, it's definitely going to have a different viewpoint. And hey, like, that happens again throughout history. Like, different beliefs in people will have ebbs and flows of what's socially acceptable and what's not. We go back to Greece then and where it is now. It's just ebbs and flows and changes over time. And that's why having a podcast like this and just getting information out to people is so crucial, because that's what we need to do. Is we need to learn from history, learn from one another, and make sure not to spread hate or lies.
Yes. And interesting, because it's a weird fact that I know, actually, because of drama class. So good shout out to Mr. Tian for that. But in Greece, so part of the reason for the blood sacrifices was actually during theater. So they would actually take a goat and they would slaughter it. I can't remember if it was before or after a play, to the gods, so that the play was good, or in respects to the gods for it. And the Greek word for goat is tragos, which means tragedy, and that's where that comes from. So that, I think, is where it'll kind of started, I think. Don't quote me completely on it, but because the image of Pan, who is from Greece, is so widely used in any image of the devil, it's very possible that that is where that's from. So that's just kind of my weird little fun fact.
That's correct. Yeah. I think we discussed that too. If you just study art history, and you hear me use that word propaganda time and time again, because we just said Lucifer is this beautiful fallen angel. You read the Bible front to back, all of the different kinds, he's never depicted as this visage of Pan, or a pagan god. And that's because they were using their quote unquote adversary, bad guy, and putting it on other people's gods. So disrespectful, so hurtful. And that was their way of trying to draw people away from these pagan rituals and festivals. And that comes from the spread of Christianity throughout Europe and stuff like that. So, yeah.
It is sad, because to me, I see it as anything with horns. They just think that it's the devil or Satan or Lucifer. Like, it is just like they have like a weird mixed with anything that has, everything that has horns. It is, they just automatically just think, oh, it is the devil, or it is just something bad. Like, it is just, it dumbfounded me. Like, it's just like, it is just ridiculous at this point. It is just, beyond ignorance. It is just like stupidity. Like, come on, man. Like, seriously.
Especially when you read the Bible yourself, and like I've grown up with that. But that's just like the superstitions that have been passed down. Like,
I grew up with it.
Stereotype.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's what needs to be broken. And again, I love all different viewpoints, as long as like everything is done with love. Some of my best friends too are Christian. Totally awesome. And we talk all day, and it's not anything heated. And that's because they have that understanding of history, and they're Christians who follow their viewpoints, but they don't have those broken stereotypes or judgments attached to it. And there are things, sure, you can pull and manipulate. It's just like, let's take it with my film background and stuff. You can take a video like a trailer for a movie, right? You could take that trailer, you can cut pieces of it and edit it to give a whole different vibe. You can edit, Titanic to look like one of the most crazy horror movies ever, just by how you spin it and cut it. You can pull whatever you want from the Bible and that text and spin it and cut it any way you want. But it's about taking that word and that faith and that spiritualism you have with whatever God you're following, and putting out good intentions and love in the world. So that's the concept we're talking about, guys, is not just shaming a certain viewpoint or religion. We're shaming the unresearched stereotypes associated with just not looking back into history.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And even though I do not have any membership in the Church of Satan or the Satanic Temple, I am a independent Satanist, and this is what I like about Satanism. It is the fact that you can just go ahead and do your own research. And once you do your own research and you feel comfortable with the philosophy and you see that it does resonate with you, you just take pieces of pieces and you just make your own puzzle of what you feel more comfortable with. The thing is, too, that we do not believe in proselytism. We do not believe in spread the word of Satanism, and this is why it has been so many times, misintroduced and misinformed with the people, because we do not believe in spreading the word. As opposed as the Temple of Satan, which they are good doing, don't get me wrong, they are doing a good job with the society and the humanity with putting out there, hey, we are looking out for equality and, we want to protect, people with their rights, and we do want to fight for their rights, and it's perfect, it's good. However, the type of Satanism that I do follow, it does not believe in proselytism, which it is perfectly fine too. But I do have to give some props to the Satanic Temple, because they are doing their own, work for society. And, Baphomet, it is the great figure of equality. What better figure than that? Like, you have the female archetype and then you have the male archetype too in one same tattoo. Like, that is the best equality symbol that you can put in there. You know what I mean? Like, and so to me, as an independent Satanist, I respect that. I respect the Satanic Temple for what they are doing, and I respect Anton Sander LaVey, which is Church of Satan, the Church of Satan, because of the way they did. They actually started what the Satanic Temple is doing right now. You know what I mean? Like, it is totally different organizations. However, at some point, one started what now the other one is continuing, which is perfectly fine. And I really like the fact that I am able to just create my own belief and my own philosophy within the Satanism and make it my own. Like, I read the Satanic Bible. Yeah, I did read the Satanic Bible. However, I have my own beliefs and I made it my own. Like, it's not something straight from the Satanic Bible. It is not something that you can find in there. Like, yeah, I did took some of it from there, but I kept doing my own research and I kept doing my own. I look further, within the left-hand path for me to be able to be here now and saying, it is okay to be you. It is okay to do what you want to do. You don't have to be going in the same way that other people are going, But to me, it is just important that every individual have that right. And it's not like, Christianity make you believe that, like you have to follow this or you have to follow that. And, as a witch and as independent Satanic, like, I just feel free. The way I'm living my life, I just feel free. And I think that's the way every individual should be feeling, to living their life as they will, as they would like to live it.
That's very that really touches home, even with my traditional Native American background, because that's one of our values is we don't judge anybody for what their medicine or what their center is, but just make sure that it's right for you, So that goes along with doing your research, making sure that it's for you, not just this, written out, this step-by-step thing. It's not a paint by colors type of thing. And so that's why, like, my mom's been very accepting of me with all the little things that I've kind of taken and made into my own medicine, my own center. So that actually ties into a lot of my basic core values have been ever since I was little. All right, so how has the acceptance of Satanism progressed over the years?
So I think we're still going in baby steps. I think we still have a long way to go. However, with the Satanic Temple, the way they've been conducting lately and doing their voice, in media, defending the rights of each individual, and working towards unity and acceptance and equality throughout all these last years. We're going in a good path. However, I still feel like we are still going in baby steps, and that is because of what I just said earlier about how we do not believe in proselytism, because we do not believe in spreading the word of how of what Satanism is. We don't hand out brochures. You don't see us in the corner handing out brochures or anything like that, because there is a quote that says, like at least in Spanish, there is a quote that says, "The truth don't scream." So if you have the truth, you don't have to yell or scream. So essentially what that means is, we as an individuals and as an organization or as a philosophy, we don't think that we have to shove it up their throats, like our beliefs or what we think it is convenient for the humanity. So I think we still have a long way to go in the society, and to make the difference and to make people believe and think, not believe, to make them realize. So I believe that you can sing in some way. We've been progressing because of this. So we've been progressing, thank you to the Satanic Temple, we've been progressing. However, we still have some long way to go because of the way that we believe. We do not believe in proselytism, and you don't see us in the corner handing out brochures telling you that Satanism is this, Satanism is not what you've been thinking all these years that the church has been telling you. No, we do not believe in that. So because of that, it is slow motion advance, and we do have to thank the Satanic Temple because they've been working towards unity and equality with the human rights and all the different populations within the society, how they've been working towards it. So because of that, we do have to thank them. And I do believe that we still have long way to go.
Yes. And I would say the same. And I encourage everyone to go out and watch these beautiful documentaries that have been going across America. It's truly awesome, too, that there have been theatrical releases of documentaries about Satanism. And the Satanic Temple has done that. And yeah, exactly. It's just educate yourself. And we've definitely come a long way from the 70s and a bit of that misconception and through Hollywood and stuff like that. And I feel like more people are slowly separating fiction from fact. And that's truly beautiful. And we just need to keep bridging that understanding together. And I'm really wanting to see more, I would say. If I'm like, okay, what would I suggest is just a bigger education of the different kinds of occultism and theologies. That way people will understand all the different practitioners that are out there, the history. And that's why you're doing such an amazing thing, Kay, by educating people about voodoo and all of these different beautiful magics. And it's not scary. It's not evil. Evil is not relevant. That goes to the person. You can't, and that's their actions. And just what Jessica was talking about, you're responsible for your emotions and your actions. You can't use a label and say that applies to every single person. So yeah, that's what I would say is like, let's just keep sharing knowledge, just like our poster boy who is the adversary. Like, yeah, like he's a symbol. I mean, if you look back in mythologies, right, we have these understandings of these great characters and we lift them up for what they've done. Like, that's like Hercules, for instance, you know, like that's a symbol. That's a character that means something to some people. Not necessarily a deity, right? But representation of these efforts. And that's what Satan kind of is, too, to a lot of people as well. Again, variety, a deity to some, too. But yeah, I would love for people to know the differences between all the beautiful different kinds of occultism and just religions and theologies and practices. And by going out and helping create documentaries or just stuff like this, I feel like there's a difference between, yes, shoving things down people's throats and just presenting knowledge. Because individualism is something Satanists like encourage, and that's completely different. I love my Borg analogy. I want everybody to be different and us to have these different viewpoints. I'm thankful for the Church of Satan as well as the Satanic Temple, because what that does is it covers different areas and promotes conversation and different thoughts in different ways. If everybody was assimilated in the same way and the Borg, the world would be boring.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And so let's live together peacefully, take care of the ship that is our Earth, our mother, and celebrate our differences.
Yes.
Agreed. I guess my advice to people that are interested in finding out more is just to do that. Find out more. Do your research. Put in the time. You know, I feel like a lot of us are living a satanic life and not even realizing it. Looking at the tenets and the viewpoints of both the Church of Satan and the Satanic Temple, like Lilith said earlier, it's common sense. And I know that before I read about it, I was living a satanic, along their lines of thinking lifestyle before I even knew that I was. So those that are listening could be as well. And so just doing that research, getting out there and educating yourself on all different things. Like I'm a crafter, right? And I'm very active in the craft world. And I used to run a group of like 60,000 people on Facebook for crafting. And people would always say, what do you suggest doing? And I'd always say, do as much as your brain and your wallet will allow you to do. Try everything. Find out what works best for you. Because at the end of the day, like I said earlier, you're responsible for yourself. You have to live your life. You're the only one that's going to live your life for you. So do it and find what works for you. That's my biggest advice.
So one of the things that I wanted to kind of mention too that I find kind of beautiful is that the image of Satan was kind of dropped in their laps, you know, into satanic worshipers' laps, and they kind of took it as, well, okay, you're giving me this, you're saying it's all negative, I'm going to make it so that it's something that's positive, and I'm going to wear it as a badge. And that's kind of what I originally saw it as this okay, you're saying it's this one thing and you're calling it this, but I'm going to turn it into something that's good. And really, I mean, I know that a lot of people are going to think that that sounds so silly because we've been taught to think that that equals something negative and dark, but it doesn't. And I'm hoping that maybe, for my advice is to maybe, if you have something that's been kind of dropped in your lap in that way, try to mold it to something that suits you better, that is that positivity that you want to be. Because you can easily just say, okay, fine, this is the way you want it to be, then this is the way it is, and all it can ever be. Or you can make it into something that works for you, that is better for you. And I really think that's very beautiful, that that's how things kind of ended up being instead of what it was meant to be.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like Megan said before, they're rock stars.
Mm-hmm.
Satanists are rock stars. They're wearing those badges and they're wearing them proudly. And I always have a problem or struggle when Christians will say, oh yeah, God will, or Satan, Lucifer will say and make you want to believe that it's okay, but he's the great deceiver. Well, is he? Because you guys are the ones that are following blindly versus doing your own research. And I would rather have a educated hypothesis than just follow blindly.
Right.
Most definitely. And that's why there's a lot of people out there that go, it's all perspective. If you're reading and listening to that story, who is actually, trying to help out people? It's, who knows? Is it just more propaganda? Not sure, but exactly, presenting that knowledge. And that's like what Lucifer was. He was the first rebel. So I feel like it kind of makes sense to use that as a badge of honor, rebel against what you're spoon-fed, and try and give the gift of knowledge to people. Don't force it. No, didn't do that. Offer that conversation, offer that knowledge, and just live by example. His actions were saying, no, I'm not going to succumb to this. And the argument that was presented, who knows, with the angels and stuff, because humans were getting like special treatment. And he was like, well, how's that fair? So who knows what really went down? And even if that did go down, these are all just beautiful theories and great conversations to help keep the mind turning and help us keep creating art and content and living, being human. That's what it should be about. Exactly. Like Jessica said, like, you need to go out and live your life to the best of your ability while you have it here. Your actions, your ripples that you leave and give out into the world, your intentions. That's what it's about. And that's what it should really matter, not whatever label you're giving yourself. So the fact that Satanists have taken upon themselves a really difficult label to show how unimportant wearing that label is. That's the whole cool concept of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's showing people through their actions.
Yeah, I like too that it kind of, because there are two different versions, one with the deity and one without. I like that because for the people who are atheists or just unsure of if they want to worship a deity, it kind of gives a home to whatever they feel, whatever they feel is best. There's a version of it that they can claim as their own. And I like that because I think a lot of people need that. Sometimes they just need the community sense of it, not really the deity or the reason for it, So I kind of find that kind of beautiful too, that there's two different outlets where you can still enjoy the community and get those teachings and those morals and those values without needing to believe in any sort of deity or any one deity. So I like that.
I totally agree with you on that because from speaking from personal experience, as I said, my parents were very liberal. They didn't push me. My dad grew up Catholic, went to a Catholic school. You know, he had nuns smacking him with rulers, things like that. So he didn't want to push us as children into religion. And I respected that. And I'm doing the same with my children. But growing up as a medium was not easy. Not understanding what I was dealing with, understanding why I could see things and hear things that other people couldn't around me, things like that. And then I, as an adult, find out that there's a whole church of people that practice mediumship as a spiritualist. And I'm just like, holy cow, this is amazing. I feel like I belong somewhere, you know? And it was really great to find a place for myself within the para realm, and then also within a religion of spiritualism. And then even if you don't completely agree with everything they say, they don't shun you, you know? And then that's a whole other thing too that I love about, you know, everything we've talked about today is it's all good stuff. You know, we can talk about differences and compare things, and we all get along, you know?
There's a place for everyone.
Exactly.
Yes. And that's why it's so beautiful, and individualism should be celebrated. We're all different works of art. If you went into a museum and the painting was the exact same all around, boo. So
Yeah.
boring.
Mm-hmm.
I love everybody just being exactly who they are. And you're right, Jessica, where you feel comfortable, because that's where you shine. That's where you really tap in to your strengths, to your power, to your magics, whatever you want to say. We use different words to agree/disagree with the same things. So when I say magic, somebody else might say focus and initiative and drive, but we're all just helping push each other to be who we should be. And that's what's really refreshing and encouraging about all of the different kinds of people in our communities, for sure.
Definitely. Yeah. I'm so excited at 31 years old that I can honestly say I know where I belong and I know what my life purpose is. And I know that it's to help educate people, not throw things down their throat, but, you know, I have my tattoos. I have a Ouija board on my arm. People ask questions, and that opens the conversation. And that gives me the floor to then talk about what I get to do, how I get to help people, how I get to help spirit, you know, and that's amazing. And I love that, you know, I have that opportunity, and I love to have these types of conversations, because we're like you said, one big, delicious, amazing religion philosophy salad.
Yes.
Yep.
That's exactly what America is, and it's really cool.
Yes, I'm very, very appreciative of the Parafield, because it has opened doors and introduced me to so many awesome people like you three, and I'm able to learn and grow in my own self, really, and it's been pretty fantastic. And I enjoy the fact that with you three in particular, you're so confident and at peace with your own beliefs that we're able to discuss things that maybe isn't specifically for you, but it's not a big deal to talk about it or praise it or, you know, bring attention to it. And I'm very, very thankful for that, because there's unfortunately a lot of people where they won't hear it at all, even if you try, you know, even if you don't use certain trigger words. And I'm very, very appreciative of having you guys on, and guests from my past too, where I've been able to talk about hot topics and get it out in a very nice and peaceful manner. So thank you.
Yay.
Yeah, thank you for creating a platform and bringing us on. That's your beautiful intent magic touching so many people, and we thank you sincerely as well.
Yes, definitely. And keep doing what you're doing, because, like I said, we need to have a nice, flavorful salad. So,
yeah, definitely.
I am honored to be part of this. I am honored to be part of change and to be summoned to this wonderful meeting and chit chat, like this is amazing. Thank you guys for inviting me, and I really appreciate you guys bringing me in, and I'm so thankful. I cannot express with words how thankful I am.
Well, you're all very, very welcome, and I'm very, very thankful for having you guys on. Before we go, is there anything that wasn't mentioned that you would like to mention?
If you would like to have insight on how or what Satanism is, please do your research. And not only the Satanic Bible, but there's so many articles, there's so many books that you can also read. Because I didn't only start with the Satanic Bible, I also started, looking more beyond and further the Satanic Bible, which is Aleister Crowley, Friedrich Nietzsche, Mark Twain. And there's so many articles that you can read and enrich yourself on so many different literatures that you can read and empower your own self with good reading and real content on what real Satanism is. Do not let others to impregnate you with other dogmas or other beliefs. Think yourself. Research for you, for your own empowerment. It is important that you research and look up and enhance that enlightenment that is there for you. It is there for all of us. So enlighten yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was really great talking with you ladies, like for real. I think that, yeah, we covered a lot of bases and broke it down really easily too. And yeah, everything that you read, it doesn't mean you have to agree with all of it. So you should go into things that maybe and research stuff that you might not be comfortable with at first. So I totally agree with Lilith. Just find quality content and go out and learn as much as you can. It won't hurt you. Not at all.
Yeah.
No. So that's what I like to do, and I know I've mentioned it many times, is I enjoy learning. And if you learn something and then you're like, well, okay, but that's not really for me, that's okay. Just set it down and move forward. Just keep learning. It's not a big deal. And if you find something that you're like, wow, this resonates so deeply, then run with it, and just make sure that it's something that really resonates with you and not the ones that are around you, because again, you're the one that has to live your own life.
Exactly.
So, well, thank you ladies so much for being on my show. I appreciate it.
Thank you, lovely.
Have a wonderful night.
You
Thank
too,
guys.
Thank
Be
you.
safe.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining my circle tonight. It was a pleasure to discuss this spooky topic with you, and a thank you to all my listeners for tuning in. And as always, dreadful dreams. Remember, my darlings, to always be kind to those around you, including our friends with claws, fangs, and fur. Hello, darling. Love the show and want to be more involved? All while showing your support? Have I got the perfect thing for you? Subscribe to my Patreon page today, and as a patron, you'll have the option to select which tier you are interested in, with exclusive patron-only offers from early access, live stream chats, shoutouts, distant readings, and so much more. If this has piqued your interest, please follow the link in the chat or go to patreon.com and search Cauldron Talk with Casey Colburn and become a patron today. Thank you for your support, darlings, and as always, dreadful dreams.